So are you more excited for Ahsoka season 2 or Andor season 2? I don't know if that's a joke or not. I am interested in Andor season 2, not so much Ahsoka. I don't know if that's a sure thing to begin with. That is still a rumor. I remember seeing that someone said from the source, which was a source on Twitter, My Time to Shine. There were community notes saying that this account was notorious for wrong information. So I haven't heard a confirmed source from a confirmed source that Ahsoka season 2 is happening. I tend to think it's not happening only because Rosario Dawson herself did say that season 2 was basically predicated on how well season 1 would do. And as far as viewing numbers, it wasn't that great, way less than Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan didn't get season 2, so there was a demand for a season 2 for Obi-Wan because, they were so disappointed, they wanted more, and were kind of disappointed how it ended with such flimsy narrative stakes that it had in it. But that didn't happen. So I think what their original plan is, so the next show that's set to come out is Skeleton Crew. And a lot of people seem to forget that Skeleton Crew is a thing. But it's actually a Star Wars Mandoverse show. And it's the next show that's slated to come out. And there was something at Star Wars Celebration that recently, so they did have Jude Law, and he's going to be in it. And it's going to be him basically babysitting a bunch of kids. But it's funny it's interesting, because the premise of the show is that, they say they're thrown into a different galaxy and having to deal with the adventures that come from that. So that definitely sounds like it's being tied to the storyline of Ahsoka and ultimately the Mandoverse film. So I think it's going to be Skeleton Crew next, and then possibly, I would think, the Mandoverse film. I'm not sure at this point. They did leave a lot of things unresolved, and they probably don't even know for sure. If there is going to be a season 2, I'm not sure if that's going to be before or after the Mandoverse film. So it could come after that. That's also a possibility. They ultimately did leave a lot of things unresolved. I know a lot of people who even were passionate fans of the show were very disappointed in some of the story arcs ended for certain characters, especially Baylan and Shin, which is understandable. I'd be understandably upset about that or disappointed. I'm just getting tired of this formula, and it seems to be probably most egregious with Star Wars and now with the Marvel formula that they've been copying, that it seems that they just want to drag out a show as much as they can. A lot of these shows can just be minimized to a movie format. Obi-Wan could have just been a movie. They really just dragged that out more than was necessary. And I think Ahsoka too, they could have condensed the first 3 episodes, condensed it in much shorter timeline, gotten to another galaxy, and really had set a good amount of time in that new galaxy and really lived in it for a little bit and let the story kind of develop before they moved on, because it just seemed the pacing was just very weird. So at the end of the day, there just seems to be, people are just so left with disappointment because there wasn't really anything satisfying at the end, that they didn't wrap up anything in a satisfactory way. But it seems like that's the intention, to leave you wanting more, for the next thing. We know that, we kind of left you hanging here and there was a lot of stuff that we resolved. We're going to resolve that next in the next show. In the next different show, the next thing that's coming out. I'm just getting a little tired of that. And again, it just feels like a content assembly line at the end of the day that they don't really care to make. That's why Andor, I think, is why that's so special, is because it doesn't feel that way at all. It's not building to, the next show because the next thing is Rogue One. So its purpose isn't for that. It's just to focus on this point in time with the rebellion leading up to A New Hope. So that's why I think why that resonates with people more, is that their focus is to tell this good story, a compelling story at this point in time, and it's not just to get you to the next thing, that hopefully you'll watch that, hopefully you'll carry on to the next show, and hopefully, go from there. I think that's why the ones that have watched Andor, why it resonates to them so much. It's because the approach is entirely different. And the next thing has already been done. And Shin is basically a prime example of why I'm really tired of actresses just being used just to score points, to boast about how many women they have. Oh, look how many women characters we have. But at the end of the day, her character was really a disservice was done to this character, and I'd say to the actress as well that had to play it, because there was nothing to her character except she was just there to be a sounding board to Baylan. She was there to ask him questions so he could do some exposition for us, because the writers don't want to show us what's going on. They have to tell us, and they don't want to develop a story in a meaningful way. They just want to rush into a situation and just take a little bit of time to like catch the audience up. So that's basically what she was there for. She didn't come across at all like a dark side character. She didn't seem menacing at all. That's why I think people referred to her as a chihuahua. She never was consistent either. So the way she tore through people in her introduction on that ship, I never saw a return to that character, to that part of her character. She didn't seem to have that in her first encounter with Sabine. She could have easily killed Sabine, but she didn't. They just like, we'll just have her stab her there and she'll somehow miraculously survive. But also she used force choke at one point, but she never used it again when she definitely had the opportunity to use it against Sabine later. So there was a lot of inconsistencies. They didn't want to make her menacing, but the most egregious thing to her character was that they didn't tell us who this character is. She's Baylan's apprentice? But who is she? What is her background? How did they even meet? We never are told this. Why they're even together. Why she's even following Baylan. Like, why is she personally drawn to follow Baylan? We're never told that. And we're hardly told anything about Baylan himself. How he even survived Order 66, I don't know. They don't talk about it. But yeah, so she's mostly there just to be a sounding board for exposition. And at the end of the day, nothing was accomplished with her character. No character development whatsoever. It made absolutely no sense for her to just stay on the planet. It did not make any sense for her to just go to what was the Tusken Raiders-esque kind of people that were on that planet and raise her lightsaber. Oh, you're wearing red. My lightsaber is red. Y'all obey me now. Is that what happened? It just made absolutely no sense. And I don't know why she didn't want to try to seek Baylan out again. Was she upset that he, left her, I guess? I think there was way too many characters at the end of the day, and they didn't really stop to think about each one and what each of their motivations was. They didn't really stop to think about, who is this person? You need to know all of her background to know what her actions are going to be. At least the writer needs to know that. But there's like nothing to portray why she's doing what she's doing. And she doesn't really seem like she's inhabiting or exhibits those dark side qualities. Except for the very beginning, I guess. She never seemed menacing. I never thought that Sabine was in trouble at all. It just didn't make sense why she just decided to join those warriors on the planet and why they would even be inclined to follow her. None of that's explained.